And we are back with more coverage of the Super Mario Bros. 3 Challenge Cup. This is a Game 2 between sharky2107 and drjayphd. Sharky is currently up 1-0 in the series. So Dr. J, if he wants to advance to the second round of the tournament where Midi Guy DP waits in the weeds, he will need to rattle off 2 straight. We are underway with a boss bass in 7-2. Ouch.
Doesn't look like it phases either of our runners, though. They both give them the business. Ice block right in the face.
Oh, I like the strategy by Sharky. He's going to wait for the boss bass to respawn before going up the pipe. Now, the only worry about that is if the boss bass is in a bad position. Oh, is he going to go for this note block clip? Oh, he won't be able to with a star. That's unfortunate. So a clip that Sharky showed me recently when he was doing SMB3R practice is if you do a clip after activating those note blocks, you can actually just clip through the pipe and not have to go all the way around.
Yeah, somebody clipped that clip into the Discord chat the other day. It was pretty awesome to watch. I was wanting to see if I could figure out how to do it myself.
I believe he has a setup for it, so that he can do it somewhat reliably. Careful, Dr. J. You don't want to fall through that bridge all the way. 7-2 is one of the many, many levels that you don't want to see early.
Well, Dr. J takes 1 hit from earlier, but manages to clear it out.
He's
and
through.
He'll be right on Sharky's tail now.
He's through. That's what matters.
And we got a lot of those shoe Goombas, Kuribo shoe Goombas in this 1-5.
Well, there were quite a few of them.
Unfortunately, the runners won't have an opportunity to pick up one of those shoes. Neither do I think they'd want to, since it actually does slow down the progress quite a bit.
He actually doesn't even have the option to pick up a shoe without doing some elaborate setup involving a question mark block, yeah.
And you'd have to go and get that 1 question block down in the bottom areas, and it's not worth the time. Not during a race.
This is something you don't see too often in bracket flags, is the tower. But this tower stage is hard required.
Sometimes the map just gives it to you that way.
Speaking of flags, have you looked up what flag set Sharky chose for the second race?
Yes. He chose in-card, no hammer.
Interesting.
So,
That's a very interesting pick. I can see why Sharky would pick those. Because with no hammer locks, it does tend to make seeds longer, and he feels he could. He feels that he will be able to out-execute Dr. J by making those selections. Because if, say, there's something like hammers in the end cards, that could make it. That can make just the value of hammers go down precipitously. He may be banking more on strategic use of clouds.
Now we have Dr. J.
But typically, when you see a runner choose a flag set for hammers breaking locks being off, that's a sign that you believe you can just out-execute your opponent in general.
Speaking of clouds, we have a level that is very popular for clouds, 7-8. That is also mandatory, unless he can skip them with the cloud, but so far none of them have accumulated the 80,000 points needed to go do it. So,
not this early.
So
this
Sharky,
is nasty. Oh my goodness.
Sharky can't quite get the jump up and high enough. There he goes. Gets the jump so he can clear out that one piranha and make it a little bit easier.
Look at this high-level two-who play from Sharky, OBOB.
Dr. J also with using a fire flower and trying to get those piranhas to spawn, come out of their pipes so that he can go and zap them.
That is, and Leslie in chat pointing out that we might need to have Fred take the bot off of Evil. That's one thing that I've actually requested in a. That's one thing I've requested in a future version. For instance, maybe a 1.4 or 1.5 update is an option for accessibility purposes on these level shuffle flag sets to preclude certain stages for the shuffle from appearing in, say, the first 1 or 2 worlds.
That would also... That could actually... I could see that being something that would be handy for an earlier set of earlier rounds in the tournament.
Just more accessibility settings in general, because when you add the stage shuffle, there really isn't a balance of difficulty in the randomizer, and that will become especially important once we see some more heavily requested features be added to the randomizer, such as world map shapes. World map shapes is something that I've been looking forward to for a very, very long time.
It looks like we've got chat right now lobbying for a starting inventory as well.
Yeah, that would be a cool option as well, just to have a few starting inventory items. And this 8.2 not treating Dr. JayPhd very well at all. And because there is a boss bass in the basement of 8.2, the Sand of Shame, or as some people call it, the Sand of Sanity, might not be adding to these players' sanity very much. And Dr. J taking an extra mushroom house, which I do not blame him for whatsoever, as he is in lives trouble right now.
So Dr. J clears out one boss bass, yes, but there will be another right there. And another. Nope, didn't get the third one.
And Mini Guy pointing out another potential application of that too, where... do we have an option right now to remove Hammer Brothers from the maps? Because that would be an interesting option. To give all of the players the same number of level skipping items, but remove... Like, just give them a starting inventory, but remove items from... But, like, just removing the items in general from the map.
So there would be no... there would be no Hammer Brothers in. They just
you could still go out of your way. You could still go out of your way to get. You could have the. You could still have the. You could still have them, but you could replace all of the. You could replace all the Hammer Brothers items with something not helpful, like just some item that wasn't helpful, or even just replace them with no item. It depends on what kind of magic Fred would be able to work.
Right, okay.
Or
Hammer Brothers just always give a star.
It would add another layer of... Well, stars are useful.
Oh, yes. But if you have to trade a star to get a star... Oh, we do have a hefty Roy. Big boy Roy, who takes at least 3 hits now.
That's 4.
Yes. We'll go for...
And despite the issues Dr. JayPhd was having with 8.2, he has closed the gap. But if he can get through this board fight, does very well. So, Dr. J not too far behind after this first world. Not quite sure why he's jumping for the wand. If you jump for the wand in any of the airships, it does actually slow you down. There is a certain amount of time that passes before Mario begins falling, and the bigger distance that he has to fall before hitting the map transition, the longer it will take for the map transition to occur. And that's actually the basis of how the wand clip works. Is when you stand or when you fly all the way up so that Mario's sprite is halfway off the top of the screen, it actually wraps his position around to the bottom of the screen, which is what triggers the screen transition.
Oh, and Sharky was in a little bit of a pickle there, but manages to get out of it without too much more trouble. Is Small Mario with a blooper trying to troll him.
I like this play by Sharky to pick up lives.
Absolutely, especially early on in the seed still, you got plenty of opportunities to have trolley levels that could take several out of you. Dr. J elects not to take the in-card game, at least this time. Instead, he goes and enters 3F1.
Oh, and there's that hammer, which could actually be useful. I would consider popping that hammer on that. I would consider popping that hammer there. That way you can see where that pipe takes you.
Oh, yes. Have that option available to us. Oh,
no
Sharky
door
tries
3. No door 3. I don't blame him. I don't blame him for going for it. He's up the game, so even if he loses this game, he still has another game.
Right, and I mean, what's the point in having a tournament to show off your swag if you're not going to show off your swag?
Wait a minute. I think Sharky's 1-up got eaten there, actually.
I think you're right. Dr. J realizes that...
Wasn't he at 9 lives when he collected that 1-up mushroom? And he's still at 9 lives now.
Oh no, we did just find out that pipe transition that they could have used the hammer for wasn't going to be too valuable because it just took them right back to where they already were.
I think I know what happened. I think I have an idea why the 1-up wasn't collected. He touched the extra life on the same frame that he entered the door, and it takes 1 frame between picking up the mushroom and the sound effect playing for it to be added to your total of lives, I believe. So he must have collected the item on the same frame that he entered the door.
Just jumped a little bit too soon.
And it looks like that hammer does take us deep into this world. So despite hammers not breaking locks, that hammer will wind up being extremely valuable for our runners. And that has catapulted Dr. J into the lead.
Yes, it has. He is now fighting his way through the World 2 airship.
I'm really impressed with Dr. J's movement in the second game. He has really stepped up his game, and you'll see those runners. You'll see those runners that... Oh, and the lead has changed just like that. But I've been really impressed with Dr. J's movement in the second game. He's kicked up his game at least 1 notch ever since getting into lives trouble. And you'll see those runners in these tournaments that, for whatever reason, when they're under tremendous pressure, their game just kicks into high gear.
Lemmy is giving him a little bit of trouble since he was kind of floating on an invisible roll there. He's up like an invisible platform or something that he's rolling around on, but Dr. J, the second time, doesn't get too much trouble with it. Gets 2 hits with him still stuck in that corner, and there he goes.
And this race is very close between both of our runners, mere seconds apart.
And knowledge is what brings us together.
These 2 runners are 7 seconds apart going into World 3. We were just talking during the break about Dr. J kicking his game up into high gear in the second match, where it could stay even closer than it did the first time. And that first race was very exciting.
Dr. J finds 6F2, decides to skip the 2 pipes, whereas Sharky checks out the pipes and finds himself partway through World 3, but not on the other side of the islands yet.
We have 2 forts.
And Sharky's in a bit of a pickle. Oh, almost!
Yeah, if you
almost was able to...
If you get in there, there's just no way out. Dr. J just 1 fireball short on that Boom Boom. Does dispatch the Boom Boom. Maybe he's going for those extra points, because with the end cards on, the 7,000 points you get from Boom Boom are pretty significant.
And in this case, they were the difference needed to trigger the end card match. He went from just under... Well, no, actually, no, I stand corrected. He was at about 171 already, so he would have already cleared... He just needed to clear the...
Getting all the Boom Boom kills with stomps instead of with fireballs can make up for an extra end card, depending on how well you score. And Dr. J does find the way through, maintains the lead, coming out of World 3. We have seen a lot of quick worlds so far.
He comes into the World 1 airship, and he will take Wendy here, and we'll see what Wendy has to offer. 1 hit, 2 hits.
Careful.
And
then that's what happens. That's what happens.
And Sharky demonstrating why he wanted to pick the end card game. He's going to start collecting items now.
I am very worried about Dr. About Dr. J right now. He is on his last life. So if he loses this battle against Wendy, he will have to go all the way back to start. Has already taken a hit. Careful!
Wendy is already showing she needs 5 hits, so she is Super Baconator with Large Wendy, and gets taken
Game over. Ouch. So that is going to put Sharky firmly back in the lead. Now the fortresses that have been cleared will stay cleared, but any stages that get in his way, Dr. J will need to complete again. Which in this case does appear to be 0.
Yeah, Dr. J just needed to go right on back to the airship, and he's already there. Sharky is completing 6F2 at this time. He doesn't have Fire Flower, but he doesn't let that slow him down. He goes and takes it out.
Feels good, man, indeed.
And Dr. J gets 3 hits without taking a hit so far. It gets 4 hits and gets a little bit of schwack, but it puts the 5th hit on Wendy. Say goodbye to Baconator Super Jumper Wendy, because she's flown away.
And despite the game over, Dr. J does maintain a 1-stage lead. There have been a lot of unexpected turns already in this race.
And with Sharky still entering this with a 5-hit Wendy, can't count it as a win just yet, just because he's got into her cabin. He's still got 2 hits to give.
Very nice.
Oh, there we go.
Very nice fight. That is how you do it. A little bit of damage at the end, but that is...
But he still won the battle. That's what matters.
Other than that, that was a very, very well done battle.
So Dr. J sees a Ford on the other side of this Boomerang Brothers matchup. Eats a Boomerang Brother.
There's actually nowhere for that Boomerang Bro to run. He's going to have to fight it.
Yeah, and he gets a Tanuki suit.
Any sort of tail is just great to see.
Now with the super tank's here, so we know that won't appear later on.
Super Tank's a great level to see. It's one of the shortest forts in the game.
Very short fort. Probably second only to the Navy, I would imagine.
And Navy's very short as well.
Sharky's navigating his way around World 4, trying to figure out how this gets set up, and finds himself just needing to go to that fort, and he'll find out if it clears the lock or the bridge.
I think he was trying to find the other fort. But as it turns out, it's not necessary. This is a very, very short World 4. We might be in for a quick night, folks.
Don't say it's too quick, though. If Dr. J wins this seed, we'll be going into a Game 3. We'll see how it goes.
It will, yes.
Dr. J still with a little bit of lead. He's going to have to take a bit of a moment there while he waits for the jet. Oh, Sharky. Small with the Boomerang Brothers.
Couldn't quite jump out of the water. Jumping out of that one-tile tall water as Small Mario can be incredibly tricky. Does get the job done with the power-up as Dr. J, PhD. Does finish World 4. And Sharky will pick up that Tanuki suit as well.
Somewhere, the original Super Mario Bros. 3 developers are still wondering if they should have made those Hammer Brother levels with the one level water fort.
Still about a one-stage lead, but we are coming up on the Vanilla World 7, which can make or break races. And we have at least 2 forts and no locks accounted for yet, so we may have a lot of required fortresses. That's one of the scariest things to see in Randomizer, is going into World 7 and seeing no locks on your first 2 screens. Where you could wind up having to hunt a lot of fortresses, and there are so many paths through World 7, you just have to wonder. You're just always wondering which path your opponent took.
Dr. J is taking his time, mapping it out, figuring out where all these things are.
I think he's trying to find the way. I think he's trying to find the way to the Eastern Island to see how many fortresses he needs to take care of. Still no way to the Eastern Island. It could be behind Stage 7.
It could be. There's a couple of action stages that need to be played. There's 2 on the other side of 1.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
This is not a fun level.
Well, here we go. We're in it now.
This is very interesting. I don't think I have ever seen anybody go up there in Randomizer before. I understand that there's a power up there, but it's quite far.
Yeah,
and there's another power up in that wooden block up by where those Cheep Cheeps were as well. You'll see most runners go for that.
So it looks like he just sprinted on up into that little cubby right there. And now he's going to make his way across this awkward thing. He's trying to toy with Blooper, I guess. Trying to get the Blooper to...
When he was sprinting up into that cubby, I was wondering if he was going to pick up the one up there, because he's a little low on lives. That would be pretty heads up to pick that one up there.
It kind of looked like he might have been trying to hit something. He just wasn't able to find the invisible block.
He was too blocked. He was 2 tiles to the left, I believe, of where that one up is.
Nice hit. Now, Sharky is in 5-3.
That's one of my favorite things to do with shells in that level.
Does get a nice little bit of sound effect going on there.
And we will... One of these 2 is likely to take him to the east. Well, that'll take him to where the forts are. I don't blame him for playing these forts first.
Sharky is on the southwest island, and he found 5-3.
If this is the way to work, if this is the way to the end, this will make a big difference. It is!
Oh wow! Now we just need to find out where the forts are, which forts to play.
So,
and
this is very interesting. Sharky has the correct pipe to get to the eastern island, but doesn't know where the forts are. Dr. J knows where the forts are, but does not know the path to the east side. So it'll be very interesting to see which one of these two runners puts the puzzle together first. And the one that does could wind up with a very big lead coming out of this world.
And the carpet fort is showing now all the different ways that it can troll you.
Oh, absolutely. And Dr. J in lives trouble again. And this is where that execution factor I was talking about at the beginning of the race is coming into play. If you feel you can out-execute your opponent, it's generally speaking in your best interest to make the flag set as difficult as you are comfortable playing.
And speaking of difficult, Sharky is back into 6-6 now. He hasn't yet figured out for sure which pipes take you where, but he's gonna take the P-Wing Express Route.
You can't.
Oh, that's right. 6-6, you can't do that.
Sharky, you can't do that.
That's right. I think he's confusing 6-9. Yes.
There are a few levels you can do that in. You can do that in 6-9, you can do it in 7-6, but you can't do it in 6-6. And I'm sure every 100% runner out there is wishing that you could P-Wing over this level, because I'm sure if you could P-Wing over this level, 100% runners would, given the many, many extra P-Wings that you get in that run.
And the 100% runners, they also... they don't have to deal with all the blooper nannies and Big Berthas and everything else. Just some ugly piranhas that make your life miserable. And that Spike that likes to say that, hang out at the end there. So now
there's a second way over. And it looks like they both have it figured out at the same time. The advantage is, I think Dr. J has... Does Dr. J have the fortresses beat already?
Dr. J, I believe, does.
And Sharky does not.
So now Sharky will play the carpet fort.
Excuse you, Boss Bass. Just excuse you? Is Boss Bass just immune to shells now or something?
I think it was just below the hitboxes where that shell was bouncing.
You are correct. You are correct. The shell was actually 1 pixel. 1 pixel outside of the hitbox.
So what we've learned here is spawning Boss Bass at the correct height is very important for Randomizer, as Sharky tries to cuddle up a little too close to Boom Boom.
No, what we've learned is that Super Mario Bros. 3 hitboxes are silly.
Well, we've always known that. Bowser fight, come on, man.
And just NES hit, not even SMB3, just NES hitboxes in general are just some of the weirdest things.
It was the 80s, it was a different time. We were young and naive.
Oh, and we also only had a whole 1 megabyte max of ROM size to work with. So clearly, since we only had 1 megabyte of ROM size to work with, we programmed very well programmed video game.
Hey, 1 megabyte, try 1 megabit for the original Legend of Zelda.
You are correct. Which is another very well programmed video game, but that's a discussion for another tournament.
Well, Sharky finds the room with the view, so he's going to go back. As Dr. J has finished Ludwig. And I would say his lead is probably 2 stages if he can figure out if Sharky can figure out where to go to get that.
Yeah, I would say it's roughly a 2-stage lead. But you also have to remember that Dr. J is in lives trouble, so...
And depending on where that actually hits. Yes.
I wonder if we'll... You know what would be really neat to see here? If Dr. J does a delayed card grab here to get 3 mushrooms. That would be really cool. Do it! Aww!
Just didn't have the swag in him, I guess.
It's not that. It's not that. You want to pick it up because you're in lives trouble.
Oh, especially going into this
7F2. Oh boy. Actually, Sharky's gone through quite a few lives as well. Come to think of it, he's down to 4. That's not a ton.
Dr. J is actually handling 7F2 so far just well.
Yeah, considering where the piranha plants are, this is a very nasty fortress.
I'm worried about Sharky getting... Oh, yeah. Sharky got micro Goomba'd right there.
And that's why Paragoombas are some of the worst enemies in the other reason besides micro Goombas is that most other enemies in the game will be on the ground, but Paragoombas will spawn in the air. So if you're running on the same level as one at P-speed, and you jump because you know there's an enemy coming, but if it's a Paragoomba, then it will jump with you, and you will take a hit, and if you are Small Mario, you will die.
Now, here, Sharky was able to get it, and he still has, he's probably still going to have Boss Pass again. There he goes.
Oh, there goes that hitbox again. Very good call from Sharky.
Good call, absolutely, yes. I agree.
Anytime you're underneath 5 or so lives, it's a good idea to grab them.
And while we were talking about that, Dr. J finished 7F2 on the first try and came out as Big Mario.
I'm really impressed with Dr. J's performance because I believe this is his first year in the tournament. And if memory serves, he was stuck in one of the more difficult groups. So seeing gameplay like that out of these up-and-coming runners is very, very impressive.
It should have us excited about the future of the community as well.
Oh, absolutely. And this is testament that even though MIDI Guy is the #1 seed, he will not be able to sleep on either one of these runners.
And Super Jumpin' Ludwig, though.
And now we do have Sharky out of World 5, so Dr. J almost an entire world ahead at this point.
Every seed is its own game, and Dr. J is racking this one up.
Oh, absolutely. And this is another reason why we have these matches as best of 3, because just because it's randomizer, anything can happen.
Absolutely. Morton taking is a pretty salty Morton, a 4-hitter it looked like this time. And Sharky is making his way on also. He's going to stop once again for some cards. I believe he should be able to clear it this time.
Should be able to. There it is.
There it goes.
It is.
So the Princess Letter offered a penguin this time. And looking at the map, they're going to have to play a couple levels to get to the fortress to clear that, to build that bridge. And
speaking of nasty stages,
oh,
this seed has thrown almost every nasty stage at these runners.
So our...
Hey, so Diesel, you said you rolled this one?
Sorry?
You said you rolled this one, Diesel?
Well, I don't know if they took the one that I rolled or if my Cobra rolled it.
I'm gonna say, if you rolled this one, what did you do to upset the rando bot?
I may have, I don't know. Oh,
it's not even,
yes.
it's not even just the start of this seed that's been nasty. It's been the whole thing.
Whoa, and a fiery nipper right there, too.
There have actually been multiple fire nippers on the stage.
Is that a fire nipper up there in the, in that little box by the escape pipe?
I don't believe so. No, it's just a regular jumping one. I'm not even certain if fire nippers are permitted to spawn up there. There is a logic to what enemies are allowed to spawn where. Mostly to make sure that we don't get memory banks, like memory bank issues. Because only certain groups of enemies can be overloaded, or can be loaded together, otherwise you get issues with sprites.
Things like, you see a fire chomp or something that suddenly turns into a long line of hammer.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so that we don't have overlapping... because this game pushed the NES to its limits in terms of, well, just about everything, the programmers had to do some pretty interesting tricks to be able to get... Oh, wait. We have a Boom Boom Star Kill.
Yes, we do. Dr. J is continuing his lead with the Potaboo Bridge. Oh, gets a nice cloud. That could turn out to be handy in World 8, depending on what kind
he'll probably use it immediately.
Looks like you're right there.
The clouds tend to be not very helpful in World 8.
Yeah, there's only a couple of opportunities to use them, and
they're also generally only useful if you have multiples of them in World 8. Because oftentimes, if you cloud past a stage, you might need to cloud back over it. It's just part of how World 8 winds up getting routed.
Yeah, it does get circuitous like that. Morton giving Sharky a little bit of trouble here. He loses his tail. And there he goes. Oh, so maybe it was a 5-hit Morton.
And even though World 7 does have the World 1 map, Dr. J has extended his lead to almost an entire world now. But we do have World 8, the Great Equalizer, coming up. So anything can happen, really. I actually think we're going to see Sharky play a fairly traditional World 8, where he tries to take the most optimal path. And the reason why is because he's up a game. So if he loses this race, he still has a third race with which to pull off a win.
Kind of like the old baseball rule: if you're the home team, you play for the tie. If you're the visiting team, you play for the win.
Exactly.
And Larry gave us 5 hits and was earthquakey shaky, and Sharky taking an instant hit. Oh, Sharky's getting 6-5. Is he gonna go and spend a 1-up here?
He will. That is a very, very crowded hand bridge screen on Dr. J's side. Sharky...
Sharky spent a P-Wing to...
You can't P-Wing over that, either. I mean, using a P-Wing is fine on this level. There's some... I believe the old 100%... The old vanilla 100% route used to use a P-Wing this level. And there are some 100% routes that still do.
It's not a bad call since you need to climb up there anyways, and well, he loses it. Oh, well, almost lost the whole thing.
Playing a little risky. Now, this extra lives call that Sharky is making, I disagree with. You're at 7 lives. You're coming into World 8. I don't think 5 extra lives will help you beyond. You should have T.
Should have them, but. He may have also just been running since he had just barely cleared through that level and not been paying attention to his roulette cards. And, well, he's going to use one of them now.
It is randomizer, you never know. But for a runner of his caliber, 7 lives should be plenty.
He spends one of the frog suits. I think a frog suit that he... Oh! Danced with a hot foot, and right there on the candlestick.
And this is one of those cases where I would consider perhaps doing an audible to the bottom route. Meanwhile, Dr. J still putting the puzzle of World 8 together. Still not taking that bottom route.
Finds himself underneath on a lonely bridge there, or in a lonely part of the hand stage room, and gets hand staged.
Orb for Sharky.
Orb for Sharky, indeed. Dr. J picks up World 6 Beta, 1-6
Beta 1-6, which in the original game, this level was incomplete. It did not have a goal card. So what Fred did was he added a goal card to the end of this level to make it playable and add it to the level shuffle. So now we have 9 beta stages instead of 8. And Dr. J does do the speed check to avoid picking up a third star. He must think he's behind.
He is at the 42-minute mark, so that was about the time when we were finishing up, or getting close to finishing up the first race. So I can understand where he would get that feeling.
Sharky on his way through the final airship, and then we'll be in World 8. But Dr. J with a huge knowledge advantage.
But evil level to be dealing with here.
Oh
1-1, but with an unruly set of enemies. Right?
Wow. That is one of the rudest 1-1s I have seen in such a long time.
And Sharky is finishing up this 5-hit Earthquake Larry.
So
5F1
getting to work on 5F1. Now this level is actually another reason why the randomized flying space waffles were added to the randomizer. Is because the vanilla speedrun strategy was the best way to run through this level, even with the randomized enemies. Admittedly, Admittedly, mastering that movement is one of the most satisfying things in Super Mario Bros. 3, but it doesn't make for very interesting randomizer.
Sharky realizes pretty quickly that he's not in a world that can advance him through to Bowser's Castle, and he goes and takes a pipe. Not the pipe he...
Question in chat, does the enemy placement normally get harder as you progress through the worlds in Rando? No. The randomizer in terms of level order and enemy difficulty, it places those indiscriminately. So you might get some extremely difficult stages at the start, and you might get an extremely easy endgame. It doesn't care.
Sharky, I guess, trying to do a pause strat after he found himself needing to spend another one-up. That handstand.
It could very well just be a rage pause.
And wasn't going to have much that he could do there, but he gets right back into it since, he ends up on the elevated platform that he can't see because he didn't hit it with P-Speed.
And that is the 1.6 beta on Sharky's side, which is a level that was added in the recent release of the Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer. And drjayphd has found the way to Bowser's Castle, so he has the puzzle solved. This is now his race to lose.
Sharky spins a P-Wing this time on the 1.6 beta, and that is probably going to be the best choice.
Will we see a door? No, we won't. We will not see a door.
Just a little bit too slow on it. That tail probably, that tail kept him in the hover.
So there's this little swag clip that you can do through that first door that appears when you hit the P-switch. And Sharky actually taking the double damage booster across the spikes this time, due to having 2 power-ups.
Sharky may also think that he's behind, which he would be correct, but...
Dr. J has no items to use on this stage, so you just have to go in when he's not.
Run it. Well, he didn't spend the time in those card games at all during the seed. So he didn't have any extras that he would have earned from those pickups. And now he's small, so he's going to have to go down the Disco Waffle staircase.
And that may have wound up making a big difference in the race, because I didn't get too good a look at his inventory, but the card game was kind of trash. Even if this was a Hammerlock seed, I think the card game was just complete garbage.
Yeah, so without the card game, you spend a lot of time in it, which I can understand both sides of the argument as to whether or not you want to play the card game in the randomizer races. Oh, that was ruthless.
And that is one of the reasons why you'll see a lot of runners take the long path down Bowser's Castle, because if that last laser is active, there's pretty much no avoiding it.
So it looked like Dr. J did have a few other items on another one of the screens. He just had to scroll up. And he's still going to go the upper route, not trying the clip.
With a power-up, I can see it, actually.
And this time he makes it. Nicely done. Yes, indeed. So here comes Bowser. He'll have to do at least 5 stomps. There you go. Bowser's digging in his hole.
be just one more hit, and Dr. J will even up the series.
And there we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a tie ball game.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs out for Dr. J, PhD, who has now tied the series. We go to game 3. Dr. J, PhD finishing it with an official SRL time of 49 minutes, 59 seconds.
Sharky's got it almost solved. This is quite the Serpentine World 8 as well.
And Bowser's Castle is down another pipe.
And of note, Dr. J does barely manage to cut the sub 50. This was a tough seed. These are the types of seeds that you like to see in...
Well, in tournaments.
More in the upper bracket. You want to see the upper bracket runners just tear these kinds of seeds apart.
And this
was a running gag in one of the previous tournaments where the top, you would see the top players get the jet seeds and the up and coming players have to deal with really difficult stuff like this.
Sharky is finishing up now. Well, he's making his way through the 8 fortress, which shouldn't give him too much trouble. This is a fortress all our runners know very well. Although he gets shrunkified by a couple of hits in the process.
Sharky probably going to pick up a couple power-ups here.
Looks like it.
Oh, pixel off. There we go. Nicely done, Sharky. So that's what we like to call the consolation clip. But yes, indeed, we will be going to a very exciting Game 3. And if I recall, the tiebreaker match does use the straight bracket flag.
That is correct. We'll have no Hammer Brother, or no Hammers breaking locks, and no in-card game.
So I think that race, given what we've seen in the first 2 races, that's going to put both of these runners' skills to quite the test. And it could come down to a matter of just who gets through the difficult stages first try more often. Just whoever makes less deaths in the tough stages, as I feel what the 3rd race is to. Because we've seen both of these runners get just eaten alive by some of the nasty stages, especially in the 2nd race.
Maybe we can roll the next seed with nothing but easy stages that are mandatory and Goomba.
Hey, I have an idea. They're not very happy with the seed that you've dealt. They're not very happy with the seed that Macobra dealt. How about I deal this one?
Go ahead and do it. That way, at least, they can be angry at all 3 of us.
And this is the part where they actually get to let me touch. They actually get to let me touch the pod. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's one of the reasons why you don't just stand directly in front of Bowser like that. Try to keep your distance where the hammers will just land on top of them instead. That way you have time to react to the fireballs.
And he gets trunkified one more time.
You're a little close to the right, Sharky. Watch your position. This should be good.
Yeah, I think he'll make it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now have Sharky finished with his race.
Well done for finishing that. That was a tough seed.
His official SRL time is 55:41. We're going to go and get our third and final game of this series prepared. We'll be right back. Stick around.